There it is. Okay, I'm doing this because people were complaining because we were telling them that we were doing encounter service, and they're like, well, where is it? So I brought my phone and my thing to hold it. And tonight, I told Tim I would take a little bit. That was really good, by the way. That was really good. I tried to get some of that worship for y'all so you can see it. Yeah, you know, we're video-wise, we're in competition with nothing big, just Cindy Jacobs and Todd White, and the encounter or the open door service from last week going at the same time. So anyway, we're going to do our part, right? We're going to do our part, and we're going to have an incredible message here because God is in the middle of doing some things. I titled this, He's getting ready to do some God things. So just when we think that, oh, well, it's over, it's just over, it's just what we're hearing, it's just over. Well, the only one really qualified to say that is Jesus. He was the only one ever to say that with certainty, it is finished. That's it. And until he hears it, until he says it, until we say it after him, then that's when we can say it. But right now, it's not finished. Okay, so there's some things that are happening in our world, in our lives, with the shift, with the change, with everything. We can't expect a normal life anymore not to be contested. Every step you take is going to be contested because Satan knows, he knows that you have a plan. He knows that God has a plan for you, and he knows that he doesn't want you, Satan, he doesn't want you to fulfill your plan. So everything that happens in our lives is always contested. I mean, we have been doing this now for 50 years, seriously. And we've watched so many 11th hour miracles. It's ridiculous how many times we thought, this is it, that's it, there's no more, we don't have any more strength, we can't see any way out, we don't know what's going to happen. And in that moment of time when God said, oh, really? Well, 11:11. I mean, how many times have you seen it over and over and over? To me, we've seen it our whole lives, ever since we've been together for all these years. 78, 79? And since 78 or 79. And we're 78 and 79. Right. 11:11. And to us, it was, we're right on track. Or it's just before breakthrough. Something's getting ready to break through. And so we've got to realize that God is much bigger. He's got a bigger plan. He's got something else that he wants to do. He's got a better intention. He wants this country. He's going to keep this country. It is one nation under God, indivisible, right, with liberty and justice for all. And we are not lacking for intercessors. We are not lacking for warriors. We are not lacking for people who will stand up and say, I'm not giving it up that quick. I'm not giving up the country or my family or anything else for something that isn't God's plan for them. Period. I mean, we've watched cancers be healed. I think it was, I'm going to say probably around 4 years ago now, there was a child who at Christmas time, it was a Reading couple. I think they were on staff. And the little boy ate some lettuce, and it happened to be tainted with E. coli, and they didn't know it. And the little boy was really very sick. I mean, to the point where everyone was sharing this little boy's picture and asking people to pray. I think he was around 4 years old. And on Christmas Day, there was the mom holding the little boy in the bed. And I remember that Bill Johnson, they filmed him coming in Christmas Day to the hospital room going, listen, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. He said, we have to remember it's just a shadow. Within 24 to 48 hours, that little boy was completely healed. Praise God. The doctors had given him one diagnosis, and God gave him another one. And he was healed, completely healed. And we have to remember that there are promises in the Bible for this kind of thing. Yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow. It's only a shadow. It's only a smokescreen. It's only scripted text. It's only something that everybody is told to say. We have to reimagine something. We have to. It's a threat to our democracy. That's the new one. It's a threat to our democracy. All the things being filtered or banned on Facebook and all these different things. So it's like, I'm not giving in to that. Why? Because we still have free speech. And this is Facebook and everything else. It's not a publisher. It is a platform. So they're not supposed to be editing and fact-checking and doing things according to their own horrible grid and telling us that we're wrong for saying it. We can't. They can't do that. So we're going to keep going. And every day I go through and I block them all. Because they follow me, and I know they do. So there. Anyway, so what I'm telling you is that we're getting ready to see something happen. I've always been a fighter. I'm not someone who just rolls over. I'm not someone who can just walk into a situation and see it as an overwhelming one. I walk into a situation and I see God there. And I see God who is bigger than anyone else, who will and can and does look out for his kids. Who always protects us everywhere we go. He stations angels around us to keep us in all of our ways. He goes before us and pulls up the rear guard and always gives to us the victory. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. And on top of that, we've got a job to do. And we can't do it when we're constantly looking at everything and hearing everything else. So we just shut it off because it's not what God's plan is. I remember years ago, Ron Canoli came up with a song. He's a worship leader, wonderful worship leader. I'm not even sure if he's still singing or if he's even still around. It was when my girls were young. But he came out with a song, and the words were, "Whose report will you believe? We will believe the report of the Lord." That's whose report we're going to believe. And today I posted something. I woke up with it. It was almost as if God was scolding me a little bit. And it was according to Mark 4, when Jesus had told the disciples, after they had, the demoniac had been delivered from demons, they got in the boat, and Jesus said to them this. He said, "Let us go to the other side." He said, "Let us go to the other side." And in the middle of the going to the other side, there was a storm which produced fear and panic and uncertainty and hopelessness, to the point where these are skilled fishermen. These are people who are not unfamiliar with the sea. They know the risks that are there, as people who lived on, especially Peter, lived on the sea. He understands. And they were waking Jesus up in the boat, who was completely satisfied to go to sleep and not even be concerned about it, because he had already established their destination. And they woke him up and they said to him this. They said, "Lord, we perish." They gave an opposite word of what Jesus had said. Because your circumstances can cause you to give an opposite word. You got to hear me here. You know what Bob Jones said? He went through decades. He started, I've got it written down somewhere, but 2020, when he got to 2020, he said, this is a decade of faith. This is a decade of faith. It's for us to grow strong in faith. It's for us to begin to live our lives by faith, by every word that proceeds from God's mouth. Not by what we see, not by what's been presented to us, not what puts us in a panic, not what gets us in a fizzy everywhere we turn around. So if this is the decade of faith, it's the decade of pay and proclamation of the mouth. Women are being raised up as Deborahs and Esthers to stand in places and take back. Have you seen the lawyers for Trump's? Have you seen them? Have you heard them? One of them said, we're going to deliver the Kraken. Yes. Well, I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up. And it's in the Urban Dictionary. And you know what it means? We're going to kick some Except it said it in the Urban Dictionary. And I'm like, do it. There's 2 women lawyers that I've heard that are like, we're going to go for it. We're fixing to kick some devil butt. Yeah. And it's not going to be pretty when it's over. The reason why is because there's clear-cut evidence as to why they're building a bulletproof case. Now, that happens in all walks of life. So it's not just about the election. It's not just about all these different things. It's about God growing us up in faith. He's using the election to do it. Okay? He's just using the election to help us get stronger and listen to what he says. Because that was what he said. We're going to the other side. And so we've got to realize that when we pray, that we are first off his kids. That's the first thing. We are his kids. He cares about us. There have been people praying that are no longer on this earth, and those prayers are being answered. We've got intercessors that are praying the same prayers that those people prayed after they've gone, and God put those prayers in the mouths of other people to come into agreement with those prayers so he can answer those prayers. An intercessor does this. An intercessor, there is a wrong thing here. This person has free will, and they're doing wrong things. And an intercessor stands here and prays for this person, and God stands over here and says, I'm going to answer the intercessor's prayer about that person. And that is called God has a fix that will fix you. Because God then can legally answer your prayer on behalf of the person who's not listening. You got to love this. There's power in intercession. There is power in being able to stand and know who you're talking to and who's talking through you and who's prophesying through you and who's giving you the words to speak out that will create and change the atmosphere so that God can create and do what he wants to do on this earth. It's the Lord's Prayer. And so we are having to grow up now, and we're having to take a hold of the promises of God. We're having to wage warfare in those promises, and we have to realize that God said, don't panic when the storm comes up. It would have been nice, I think, if I were on the boat with him at that time, it would have been really great if he would have said, okay, we're going to go to the other side. And by the way, there's going to be this horrific storm that comes up in the middle of the ocean, about halfway there. And you guys are going to freak out, and you're going to have a nightmare, and you're going to try and do all kinds of things, and you're going to get seasick, and God only knows what you're going to do. But, don't wake me up. Right? It would have been nice to have that foresight ahead. But God didn't do it. Why? Because he was testing their faith. After he rebuked the winds and the waves, then he turned to them and said, how long, one version says, how long do I have to put up with you and your little faith? I like it. Wouldn't that just get you somewhere? What if the Lord what if he sent an angel or came himself in a dream and said, how long do I have to put up with you and your little faith? As a father, not as a dictator, as a daddy, who we are born again because of him, and we are grafted in to his family. And he comes and he goes, look, you're my kids. You need to learn my ways. You need to know the rules of the house. You got to understand how we set things up, how I put things together. You got to know what I made you for. You got to know that there's no devil in hell that's bigger than me. Yeah. That there's nobody who's going to defeat me. That there's nobody that's going to push me away and get their way. Yeah. We're living in those days right now. One of the reasons why, I was going to read this other thing, but one of the reasons why that dreams and visions are so important right now is because they're secret messages that nobody can tell you from a mouth of another person. God tells you himself. And I'm going to do a dream class here in this building on the 1st of December. So you need to come if you want to. It's $40. They'll give you a book and it's a 2-hour class. You'll benefit. It's worth it. It's Starbucks 4 times. But the reason why dreams are so important right now is because once they're cemented on your spirit, once they are branded on your spirit, you don't forget them. You cannot forget a God dream. You can't forget Steve Schultz sent a video to me. When you guys leave, don't do it now. Go and get on the Elijah list and watch the video called The Shockwave. It's a woman who had a visitation from God yesterday, and she saw a shockwave. And I won't give you all of it, but she said she saw that God was taking back the Median mountain. And he was doing it by sending a lightning rod to the east, shattering, destroying a tower. And then it was sending out other shockwaves to the rest of them, and they were all dissolving. So just as the media has tried to silence us and give us wrong information and try to cripple and compromise everything we've been hearing and all the things that aren't really going on, but they've all got scripts of what they're meant to say. I just watched I'm going to go there. I just watched on Instagram, Sean Foyt, he was showing the different stations in different cities and different towns that were all saying the same thing. It was scripted information about this is a hindrance. Your Facebook posts, your things that you put on social media are a hindrance to our democracy. Go on Instagram and watch it for yourself. And he said, what is going on? And right underneath it, I said, watch this. Because God already had a plan to take back the Median mountain. And what she felt God told her was within 3 years, he was going to take back all the 7 mountains of influence. Within 3 years. Now, I got to tell you this from an evangelist point of view, okay? Thank God. Because we have a harvest to bring in. And we've got 1 billion souls that are coming in here. The third grade is no joke. I'm just letting you know. The third grade is no joke. It's the megalodon and bigger of anything. Is that the right word for this whale? I learned it from a grandson. Yes? Right word, yes. And it is the third grade is going to overwhelm us on epic levels in such a way that we will be stunned at what God does. He's going to do so many God things. There will be such a fear of the Lord that people will be crawling back to you going, please help me find peace. People that you thought were too hard, that you thought were too far gone. It's the time of the prodigal coming back. It's the time of the witches and the warlocks losing their power, coming into the real power. But see, I've seen that for myself because I've gone out there. I went to the pagan festival and we put a booth up and we prayed and we got into agreement and we had a strategy and a plan on what to do. And the power of God was so strong with us because we're in agreement, because we're 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there he is in the midst of us. And they couldn't get anything. The witches shut their booth down and got in our line. And that's not a joke. It literally happened. So I've already watched God do God things. I've watched him do extremely, and he said, even greater things than he did are we going to do. Let's go. So I'm kind of saddling up. I'm like, well, let's go see what you want to do. What do you want to do? And if my battle is too big for me, he'll fight my battle. This week we heard so many things about this is a time of war, and this is a time of intercession, and this is a time, and it is. It's a time of war. It's a time of intercession. It's a time of spiritual warfare. It is time for that. And it's also a time of rest when you're weary, because he said, when you're weak, I'm strong. When you come to the end of yourself, I'm going to be strong. And I was going to read this to you, and I got to do two things. I don't even, oh yeah, it's still going. Thank God. Oh, I'm not techie, so. This is just Psalm 18, and I'm just going to read a little bit about this from verse 4. And it says, the pangs of death surrounded me, and the floods of ungodliness made me afraid. Can you say that makes you feel that way right now? The floods of ungodliness made me afraid, right? The sorrows of hell surrounded me, and the snares of death confronted me. In my distress, he said, I called out to the Lord. I cried out to my God, and he heard my voice from his temple. And my cry came before him, even to his ears. And the earth shook. That's God doing a God thing. The earth shook and trembled. The foundations of hills also awakened and were shaken, because he was angry. Do you think that God is angry? Behold, the kindness and the severity of God. Can I tell you that the fear of the Lord ain't nothing to mess with? That will make your knees knock and make you fall to the ground. That's coming in the third grade, and it's coming real quick. Y'all better get prepared. We're his kids, and he loves us. But I'm telling you, there will be an awe of God that will astound us, that will cause us to stop in our track and look and see, and look and to look and to behold and look. That's what behold means, to look and to look and to look again. It says the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of the hills were also shaken because he was angry. Smoke went out of his nostrils. Get a picture. And devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed down the heavens also and came down with darkness under his feet. He rode upon a cherub and flew. He flew on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. His canopy around him was dark waters. Does that make you know that he is Jehovah Sneaky? I can get into this. I'll unpack this for you a minute. Thick clouds around the skies, and from brightness before him. His thick clouds passed with hailstones and coals of fire. The Lord thundered from heaven. The Most High uttered his voice. Hailstones and coals of fire. He sent his arrows and scattered the foe. Lightnings in abundance, and he vanquished them. Then the channels of the sea were seen, and the foundations of the world were uncovered. At your rebuke, O Lord, and the blast of your breath of your nostrils, he sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy. If that doesn't get you going, y'all are dead. That's the kind of God who's going to do God things when we have reached the end of our own ability to do them. He loves us, and he is coming for us. And when we cry out to him, he hears it. And it says he comes riding from heaven, from his temple. And he devours our enemies and draws us out of deep water and waters that were too troubled and too deep for us. That's the protection we have. Then he anoints us to take out the enemy. And he gives us wisdom. And he says, I'm sending you out. I'm sending you out. I've got a harvest. I got a bunch of people out there who need to know me, and I've already been talking to them, and people have been praying for them, and they don't know it, and they're going in a direction. It's destructive. They are delusional. They have lost their minds. They are deceived by every wicked thing. They have been so listening to every voice except my voice. And I need you to go out, because I'm going to draw your feet to their feet, and they're going to come into my presence. They're going to feel it. They're going to sense it. They're going to know that it's God. They're going to fall on their face. They're going to ask you, what is this? They're going to want to know more. And all I need for you to do is to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Because God has sneaky ways to reach people. He's got, in certain arenas, he's got sneaky ways that he wants to reach them. That's part of my training anyway. For the things I do and the outreaches I go to, I have to be careful how I present God. But when they get into his presence, because there is an atmosphere that surrounds me. All he said is that when you lift me up, I'll draw all people to myself. If you just get out there and lift me up, I'll draw all people to myself. Is it going to be contested ground? Yes, sometimes it will. Is he going to give you what you need to say in that moment when you need to say it? Yeah, he will. Is he going to send angels out to fight for you ahead of the time you get out there? Yeah, he will. Is he going to give you knowledge way beyond your own understanding? Is he going to give you words to say to them and then anoint your hands with a healing power to heal their bodies? Yeah, he will. Is he going to help you do miracles? Are you going to raise the dead? Yeah, you will. But you have to get around dead in order to raise them. This is a time of doing God things. God is saying, I'm going to do God things. Do you want to come with me? Let's go. Do you want to do it too? Because we're partakers of a divine nature. So in him, we live and move and have our being. So it's not us that does this. It's God that does this. You don't have that kind of love. You don't have that kind of compassion. You don't have that kind of courage. You got some kind of courage. But every time you see another battle conquered, every time you see another defeat of the enemy and another person is rescued out of the grips of hell, it strengthens your faith. Every time you've gone through the water where the storm was raging and it was tough and it was hard, and you woke Jesus up and he got in your face and said, how long do I have to put up with you and your little faith? I told you where we were going. How many love that one? I told you where we were going. When my kids were little, Mommy, where are we going? Well, we're going to go to the store. 2 blocks down the road, where are we going? I told you where we were going. It's that kind of thing. Troubled waters are nothing for us to have to be afraid of. We're going to expect them. Just know that. But you also need to know that God's going to strengthen you in his ways. He's going to strengthen you in his ways to do his words, to do his stuff on this earth. That's why we're going through what we're going through. That's why he's using this. He's using it. People are like, well, the prophet said. Well, what if they did? People prophesy in part. Did you ever read that? You see in part, you prophesy in part. You get impressions about certain things. But I'm going to tell you, I believe that God is bigger and he's going to fulfill. And there were some that spoke according to the voice of his word. And sometimes it doesn't come in the package that you want it to. And it doesn't come in the way you think it's going to come. And it doesn't come in the timing you think it's going to come. I don't know what this is going to look like in the end. I do know that I know what God's going to look like. And I know that there's going to be some people who won't be allowed by heaven because of our prayers and because of our stance and because of our unwillingness to roll over and play dead, that won't be in the positions they think they're going to get. They will be removed. Wilkerson did say something in 1986. You can go back and read the prophecy. But Kenneth Copeland actually had a prophecy. It's a 13-minute prophecy, the first of the year. He said the government will be shifted. And he said some will leave their position. Some will quit altogether, and some will be taken out by death. We've already seen one. One judge. I'm just telling you, there's some things, and I don't know what's coming. And you know what? Quite frankly, I don't really care. As long as I'm in God, and He's in control, and I'm His kid, and we follow what He says to do. I don't care. All I want is I just want justice. The Lord told me on February 27th, I've written this out 1,000,000 times. He said, I woke up, it was an audible word, it was not a dream. He said, I'm dealing with injustice. I'm dealing with personally, politically, and spiritually. February 27th of this year, before COVID. And I wrote it down, and I time marked it on my social media, on Instagram, and on my Facebook, because I wanted to make sure that everyone saw that was when it was told to me, so I didn't forget too. He's dealing with injustice. He's taking apart the injustice that has crippled us and tried to put handcuffs on us and tried to keep us from being able to speak what we need to speak, say what we need to say, breathe His words into this earth, see His kingdom come and His will done on this earth just like it is in heaven. He's tried to muzzle us. He's tried to take control over what God said we were supposed to do. And like I said, I'm a fighter, so that doesn't go down really well with me. I'm willing to see God show up and do things I can't do. I'm willing to see Him do God things. I want Him to do God things because I stand back with as much awe as they do. We are both with our mouths open. And don't you dare think that God's finished speaking through asses. I mean donkeys. It's in the Bible. Don't y'all look at me. Besides that, you're Texan, for Pete's sake. I know what you say. I read your billboards. I am too, by the way. But I'm just telling you, don't you think He's finished doing that kind of stuff? If He has to, He will. He is complete control. He is in complete control. But right now, the Lord has heard our prayers. And you've got 1,000,000 people marching in D.C. right now. 1,000,000 people. Right now. They said more is coming. I have a friend who lives there. It is already 1,000,000 and more are coming. Don't you think God hears the prayers of His people and of His kids? And our prayer, remember the one who doesn't do the right thing? Remember the intercessor? Remember that God hears your prayer and then skips over you because He's going to answer your prayer and do whatever He has to do to get this one, give him a spanking or remove him or whatever has to happen.
Save them.
Save them, yeah, but sometimes He'll discipline them and then they will get saved. Sometimes He turns the heat up. I've seen it many times where they're like, I'm at the end of myself. I've tried everything. I've done this, I've done that. And I'm like, yeah, well, get the white flag out, man. Like, how bad do you want it? That happened when I was taking a team out for Patricia one time, years ago. It was way back in, I don't know, early 2000s. I've known Patricia since the mid-90s, so we're really good friends. We go way back. When we first started out together, about the same time. And I was taking a team out for her with her extreme prophetic, right? And I was tired, and she come back from a trip, and she goes, Cindy will take you out. And I went, I don't want to take them out. You know, I've just flew in. Like, I just want to hang out with you. And she goes, Cindy will take them out. So I took them out, these young kids, right? And we went down to Tempe, to the college down there in Arizona. And I said, you've got 45 minutes to be on this street. And I want you right back at this stop sign and in that van in 45 minutes. I don't care if you're in the middle of a deliverance. You come back, I don't want to have to wait for you. And I was just kind of being... And so I'm walking back to the van, and I'm seeing all the people that knew I meant it for them to be back at that time. And I see this kid, and I looked at him, and I said, there's a light coming out of you. and somebody's praying for you. That is not common language for me on the streets. I mean, it was just like, I didn't even think about it. It just poured out of my mouth. I said, there's a light coming out of you, and somebody's praying for you. And the guy goes, it's my mom. And then I saw him, and he had a Marilyn Manson shirt on, and he's all dark, and he's like, he looks like he's packing, right? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I took him by the shirt, and I pulled him up. I was there. And I said, are you kidding me right now? Your mother is praying for you? And God sent me out here. I had him real close to my face. God sent me out here to talk to you, to answer her prayers, because you are stubborn and rebellious. Now, you've got two choices. You can either get another spanking from God, because he's not going to give up on you, because your mother's praying, and I know a mother praying, and they don't quit. They're not going to quit. So it's just going to get tougher on you. I said, my advice to you is to get out the white flag and just wave it. And then get on the phone and call your mother and tell her that God made me come out here at 10:45 at night to talk to you and tell you there's a light coming out of you and somebody's praying for you, and I'm tired and you're wearing us out. And he's like, yes, ma'am. Pulled out his phone. Oh, yeah. I said, do it now. I got people waiting for me. And he did. He called her. And I'm like, I've never done that before. I've never done it since. And I was like, that was it. That's when the heat's on. That's when the heat's on. God's gone, you know what? You little stink, I have had it. And your mother has been praying, and I'm going to answer her prayers. And I'm going to send this bulldog who loves to see people come to me, out to you. That's basically where it was. And she will not let you go until you surrender your life to Jesus. One of my best encounters. God isn't going to give up on us. The prodigals are coming back. There's nobody too gone. I don't care, man. I don't care. I've seen them. We've been all over the place in every kind of arena. I've been at film festivals. I've been at queer lounges. I have been at Burning Man. I've been in porn conventions. I've been at pagan festivals. I've been at gay pride parades. I've been there is nobody too far gone that God can't reach. We just have to know how he wants to approach them. And we have to know how he wants to encounter them and what language he wants to use to speak to them. Because cookie cutter phrases aren't going to get it in the days to come. And there will be times when you want to go out and you do see someone and you feel like you should talk with them, and God will restrain you himself and tell you, nope, don't do it. It's not time. But they're highlighted, it's not time. And you'll tune your ear to listen to what he has to say. Are you following me? Yeah. He will tune your ear to hear what he wants to say and the way he wants to say it. This is where we are. We are growing up. We are becoming mature people who don't have to sit around and be spoon-fed anymore, but we're going to be about the Father's business. Yeah. And we're going to watch God do God things. There was a song years ago, Twyla Paris, years ago. I'm old, so there. If you don't know who it is, look it up. She might have something on a cassette. But she had a song, and the words were, "The warrior is a child." That was the name of the song. And she's thinking, lately I've been winning battles left and right. People think that I'm amazing because I don't run from the fight, but they don't know that I go running home when I fall down. And they don't know who picks me up when no one is around, right? Always makes me cry because You know, you can be really bold, but when it's all done, when you go home and you're like, oh my gosh, I just watched a guy with horns in his head and a forked tongue and his eyes rolling back, demon possessed. I watched him try and get me into fear, and I got to put my hand on his chest, and the peace of God settled over him, and he felt something different than he'd never felt before, because there's a person in there that the devil's tried to occupy and tried to take over. And then I'm like, I am in complete and total awe. This happened in Scotland with the Gothic kids. All the Gothic kids, we were in that park where that big castle is, where the Harry Potter chick read that for the first time, was at that castle in Scotland. On the Royal Mile. Have many been there ever? Oh, man. When things get back to where we can fly again, go to Scotland, go to Edinburgh. It's beautiful. And I was right in that park, right below that, and I kept looking up. And at that time, there were blackbirds flying around. We'd just come off of an outreach for the Commonwealth Games in Manchester, England, and a couple had driven down from Scotland, and they wanted to be part of our team. And so we decided that we would ride up to Scotland with them, and we would just do some outreach there before we flew home, because we were on buddy passes, and we could change our tickets, and it didn't cost us anything. And so we drove up together with them, and we got to the park, and I looked up at that castle, and at that time, Harry Potter hadn't come out. That book had not, that whole series had not come out. And I looked up at the castle, and there were blackbirds flying around. So we just got in a circle. There were only about 6 of us, maybe, because another car drove up too. And we got in a circle, and eyes open, no holding hands, no looking like we're praying. We just spoke to the atmosphere and commanded the Lord just to take over. Holy Spirit, you're welcome here. You can do anything you want. You have complete control of this entire place right now, because we're here. And we're in agreement, and we want you to come and to do this. And we looked up at the castle, and the blackbirds had turned to white. There were white birds flying around now. Well, then I look over, and here's all these Gothic kids. And so we're doing dream interpretation, right? Because that seems safe. And so we walk up to this one kid, and I said, we're out here just doing, interpreting dreams for free. We're practicing at that time. We're practicing. And I thought, well, first off, we're American. Number 2, we're older, and we look weird, and according to them. And then also, we didn't know if they'd give us a time of day. And when they heard us say we're going to interpret these for free, one guy stepped up and he goes, I've had a dream. And he was the kingpin. He was the leader of the pack. And he goes, in my dream, he was very stoic. In my dream, I was on a boat with my friends. We went to an island. We got off the boat and we were playing ball. And my friends got back in the boat. And I was there by myself, and something was trying to attack me. It was monotone, it was no emotion, and it was just what I just said to you. And he said, and God spoke to me and said, he's suicidal. The Bible says when you isolate yourself, you seek your own desire, and you rage against all sound wisdom. It is one of the classic signs for suicide, is you isolate, they alienate, they pull away. And he said, God told me he's suicidal. And I said, how long have you been suicidal? And he gasped. And all of his friends did. They went, dude, or whatever they say. I'm not sure if they said dude. I would have interpreted that dude. And I broke it off. I said, let me tell you something. You're going to live a long life. You will live and not die. And I'm breaking off the spirit of suicide over you right now. And you're going to see the Creator, and God is going to speak to you and give you your whole definition of life and what you're meant for and what you're made for and why you're on this earth. And you're going to have a life-changing encounter. opened up the entire group. We interpreted every one. There were probably 30 of them. We interpreted their dreams until the police came in, because they have to blow the whistle and lock the park up so that there's no vandalism, and they make everyone leave. And this girl came chasing after me, pulled on my shirt, and said, "I'm not leaving until you tell me what God thinks about me." We said, "We're coming back tomorrow." We came back the next day, and there were more kids there. God gave us the hidden treasures of darkness because we showed up and we were in agreement and we did it his way. And he was after those kids the whole time. And when one got broken, the spirit of suicide was broken off of one. It was broken off of all of them. God's after his kids. He's after his kids. He's after the babies. He's after the babies. And he's heard our cries for the babies. And he's going to do a God thing in order to rescue them. Are you hearing what I'm saying? He's going to do a God thing. Because God heard our prayers, and he's jumping over me to get to the babies. And he will have a fix that will fix you. He will do something supernatural in order to rescue the very ones that we're asking him to go after. This has got to be good for you guys. It's sure good for me. I'm getting encouraged. I feel like getting saved. I've been thinking about it. So what I'm telling you is that we're there, okay? We're at that point now where God's going, grow up, pay attention, shake off all your junk. Stop dragging your crap around with you. Unhook your ankle from the junk you've been dragging. You cannot drag that old junk into this new season. It's like a great big old corpse around your leg. You're dragging it. It's slowing you down. Unhook yourself from all that stuff and get with the program. Let it go. It's not going to benefit you anyway in this next season. I had this conversation with someone today, and I said, why do you constantly bring up what God has forgotten? God has no remembrance of it because you repented of it. And he said that he will forgive your sins. He's faithful and just when you confess them to forgive your sin and to cleanse you from all unrighteousness. And he takes your sin and separates you from it, from the east to the west, never to be remembered anymore. So whenever time you bring it up, God turns to the blackboard and he's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It is a time for repentance. Get yourself straight. It's not going to be, so what? So what you did it? So what? Tell God you did it. He already saw you. It's not like you're hiding from him. Oh, well, I can't say. Say what you have to say. And let God live big in you and clean you up and get you straightened out. I've seen people delivered from addiction, from every kind of thing. You know this. I mean, in the places I go, people just get delivered from addiction. They just do. Supernaturally. They stop. They don't want to do it anymore. They're willing to come to the cross, and God said, I will help you. So every time you're tempted, you just go to him and he'll do it again. 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 And do it again. And do it again. And pretty soon you don't want it anymore. This is good. Don't you shoot the messenger. And don't get mad at me because I said the A word. I know y'all say it. So we're there, okay? Do not give up this fight. It's not finished until Jesus says it's finished. He's the only one qualified to say it. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pray. Did I lose anybody on here? Hey, we're going to pray. So God, I just want to thank you, Lord, that you're good. Your mercy is forever and forever, God. There is not one thing that you said you would withhold from us when we walk uprightly with you. Lord, you said we can call on you in a day of trouble and that you will come and rescue us. Lord, you will drag us up. You will pull us up out of the water, out of things too great for us. You will set us on a rock. You will give us freedom. You will comfort us. You come from heaven. You fight our enemies. In Isaiah 59, you said, God, when the enemy comes in like a flood, you will raise up a standard against him. You fight for us, God. I just thank you right now that you're going to give us the assurance. You're going to give us confidence. You're going to give us faith. Increase our faith. Just like the disciples said to you, Jesus, increase our faith. Give us the ability to see what you see and feel what you feel and know what you know. Give us the ability to hold on when we don't feel like we can anymore. God, you said when we've done all to stand, just stand. Well, we're just standing right now because a lot of us are tired and weary and we don't know what the outcome's going to be. But we're going to look straight in your face because when we do, that's where our peace comes from. You said you'll keep us in perfect peace when our minds are stayed on you. So we're going to keep our minds stayed on you. We're going to keep looking in your face and you're going to give us perfect peace. And we're not going to have to be trampled down every time we turn around by one thing after another. And we will. Put your hand in the air. I promise to turn off the stupid news and stop listening to the lies that do not line up with your word or your purpose. You saw him. God saw you. Everyone. I have it on tape. I have it on tape. So we just thank Jesus, right? Okay. Thank you guys for letting me do this. You know how it goes. Love you. It's over. See you next week. Bye. Oh.